People only see like the little tiny chunk that we're on TV. Literally our whole lives are dedicated to that moment. It's like it's a full-time job. I am a professional athlete for a living. Every single day I show up and I do my job. I train 6 to 8 hours on top of everything else that I have to do daily for this sport. My whole life is focused on it. So it's anything else anybody is good at career-wise, it's the same situation. So to say that you can just go out and do it, you can't. For me, the UFC and what I'm doing now, I love it and it's complete freedom. Obviously I have to show up, I have to do it, but it allows freedom in other aspects of my life. And I am free to make my own decisions and do my own things. I buy my own things, do my own things. I'm not beholden to anybody except for my job. But it's not like your standard 9 to 5, I'm not chained to it. My goal is to be as successful as I possibly can and get to a point where I can help other people in not so great situations.
When Invicta first started, there were no women in the UFC. There were no organizations. There was no home for high-level women's MMA. The dedication that Shannon Knapp had to the athletes, to doing things the right way, to uplifting women in general, and fast forward, gosh, I don't know how many years it is now, but a lot. Yeah. Fast forward the 8 or 9 years, whatever it is, and they continue to revolutionize MMA just in a different way, because when you look at the UFC and you look at some of the biggest women's stars in the UFC, more often than not, they came from Invicta.
When you transition from Amis to pro, I think it depends on the promotion, but Invicta is great, and if you're a woman and you're fighting, I think that's where you should, even if you have the opportunity to go UFC, I think you should go to the Invicta first to get experience. And they operate and they're very professional. They treat you very similar to the UFC as far as media, what you need to do, your obligations. So I'd been dealing with that for the first time, the travel, the obligations, and then getting to the fight. It is a different level, but it was kind of a rush at first, like, okay, what's going on, and then you get into it. But it was a great night, tough, very, very scrappy. And she was somebody that had been around quite a bit. Most of them at that point, they'd been around a lot longer, and I knew exactly who they were when I got to fight, because as a teenager, before I even started fighting, I was stalking, like, let's see what these chicks are doing. So usually when a name comes through, it's like, oh, I know about her already. But she was a tough fight, but fun, good. Tough as heck, and she only got tougher with time. Like, she is a great opponent to have, because she stands there and bangs, and she's trying to take my head off the entire time, which is pretty great. Like, if you're an aggressive fighter, you like that kind of fight, it's fun. At that point, I was happy fighting for Invicta and I enjoyed it, but I also knew when the opportunity came up, we'd jump on it.
When she finally got that call to the UFC, did you think she was ready?
100%. One thing that piece of advice for a lot of athletes in MMA and coaches out there: do not speed up your athletes to think that they're ready for the UFC, and athletes don't think that you're ready after you've taken 4 or 5 fights in the region and fought no one, and not prepared to become a professional, and what it means to travel, what it means to deal with media, what it means to cut weight on the road, and understand all of those facets. Because I tell you what, once you get to the UFC, it's a whole different world. And with Aspen, a lot of people don't really even know. They probably just know her UFC accolades, but she had 10 fights as an amateur. We took her all over everywhere we could to fight the best females there were as an amateur. And she went 9-1 as an amateur, and then made her pro debut. She fought Anna Carolina Vidal in her pro debut at age 19. Anna was the #1 rated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt female champion in the world, and she took her back and TKO'd her within I think 3 minutes of the first round. Fought Amanda Bobby Cooper in Invicta, her second fight, then Kelly McGill, then Sajara Eubanks, and it just keeps going on. So by the time she went to the UFC, when the UFC actually called, I believe it was Sean at the time, it was a no-brainer. She was ready. She knew what it meant to be a professional athlete. She knew what it took. She had been through the trenches. She had faced adversity. And so fighting the number 12 former European Muay Thai champion in Lena Landsberg in the UFC in Poland on the road, we were ready for it. She was ready for it, and she proved that.